Hello. So in this video, I'm going to be covering the 2026 AI native outbound playbook. This is how our company, Pipeline Tech, is going to be approaching outbound in 2026 as now for our clients, for ourselves. And I think this will be worth a listen because from everything we've tested and everything we've optimized for, this has been like the most optimized approach we found to outbound in 2026. So I want to walk you guys through it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Christian Placencia. I'm the founder at Pipeline Tech. We are a AI native outbound services agency. So we set up these exact outbound systems for B2B companies, right? High growth B2B companies who are looking to scale with outbound. We set the system that reaches their full market, generates demand, and then we also help them that demand into real pipeline and revenue. So I'm going to be walking through the entire system, how we've done it. We've done this for 100 plus B2B companies, generated tens of thousands of leads, over 70 million in pipeline value. So we've tinkered a lot. And this has been the system that we've found has just been stellar. And honestly, it's pretty simple. It's really just it's not even about having some sort of, unique AI native system using the best tools in the market. It's really just a case of excellent fundamentals and leveraging the technology that we now have available to have a hyper efficient system. So I'll be explaining all of this in this video, but our approach, so we do more than just email. We take a multi-channel approach. We have email, calling, and LinkedIn as a part of our system. And there's gonna be 3 layers to our system. First layer being research, data, and strategy and data, which I'll go over first. Second layer being outbound infra and multi-channel deployment. That's where we actually send the emails, to take the calls, send the LinkedIn DMs. And then third is going to be sales agents and RevOps. This is where we actually convert the demand. So diving into layer 1, what this is going to look like. On the front end, we need to define our ICP. Before anything, you need that core fundamental strategy. You got to know like who are you reaching out to, right? Before all of that, you need to have some sort of product market fit. So of course, anyone that we work with, they need to have product market fit. Of course, we'll help them find message market fit, which is this different concept where, you might have a product that's selling, but you may have not found a message that sells over cold outbound since it's such a different channel versus like paid ads or inbound content. So we'll help you guys find that, of course. But with this, we need to have our ICP defined. So assuming that you have product market fit, we need to define our ICP so we can actually know what to say to them, right? If we don't know their pain points, if we don't know what they actually want, then we can't really write them a message according to, what's actually be valuable to them. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to cold outbound, we want to deliver a message that's so valuable that they'd be willing to pay for it, but we're saying it for free, right? That's a concept that Jordan Crawford talks about a lot. And that's something that we want to get the absolute closest to when we run our outbound campaigns. So how we're going to go about defining our ICP, we're going to have 4 context silos that we're going to be pulling from. First one being call recordings, so sales call recordings, absolute gold. You're going to find out what are common complaints you're hearing on calls, what are common pains, what are parts of your offer that continue to stick, who are the people that are buying, why are they buying, things like this is where you're going to be able to find that data. Market research with AI, so you're going to be leveraging tools like Claude or Perplexity to just run general market research. I would say out of all these context silos, this is probably the weakest. This is more supplementary just to give additional context, but really the gold is going to be in the call recordings, close one analysis. So again, this is like people who have closed, why they closed, the persona and industry that the company belongs to, who were these companies. Like if there's a consistent profile that is the easiest close or the best fit clients, understanding that is really important. And the easiest way to get a gauge of that is looking at your close one. And it's pretty surprising to see how many companies are just not even aware of who like their best customers actually are. So close one analysis is really good. And then customer interviews. So any sort of like, case study interviews or, client interviews, it's all great data there as well. And using all this is going to help us define our ICP. Once we define our ICP, we can create segments of different ICPs, like different personas, different industry segments. And from there, we can map out our TAM. So dependent on our ICP, we can see like, all right, our TAM consists of, let's say industrial or let's say manufacturing companies, logistic companies, construction companies, e-commerce, and the main personas that we kind of work around are CEOs, heads of growth, and founders, just for example. With that data, we can start going to the data sources and trying to identify where we can find these contacts and pull as many of these contacts as possible. So first we'll develop company profiles. We'll use tools like Apollo, Clay, Google Maps to just build that basic first list. Another tool we've been using a lot is Prostrio recently. So Prostrio recently had launched their new database, which is phenomenal. It's definitely better than Apollo. Sorry, Apollo, but Prostrio is great, so I recommend using them. We'll also pull from signals. So if you're tracking any signals like, thought leader content on LinkedIn, via Triggerify or people who visit your website. Using the ICP definition, we can qualify each of these people who comes via Signal and add them to our lists. And then also CRM data. So if you have any people that we can re-engage with, we can reach out to these people as well. Then once we have the company accounts, we are going to run any data enrichment. So we're going to use our enrichment stack, which look like AIR, ICPs, Prostrio, Lead Magic, and then Blitz API. That's kind of been like the deadly or one of the best data enrichment stack we found. And from the list, we can deploy them in our next step, which is going to be outbound infra and multi-channel deployment. So this is where we are actioning on the data across channels. And the three main outbound channels that we do: email, calling, and LinkedIn. Starting with email, what that's going to look like, we set up secondary domains and then we set up email accounts on top of those. So we primarily use Porkbun for domains and then scaled mail for email accounts. In terms of the ESPs that we use, we primarily use Google for the most part. Like that's just been the highest performer. We consistently see the highest reply rate from Google. So I mean, we'll continue to test with Outlook, but really Google's been our go-to. Some people may have different experiences, but really Google's been the go-to for us recently. But regardless of ESP, we're going to set up a multi-batch and reserve system. So the reason why we want to do this is because no matter how good your sending protocols are, no matter if you do everything right, you're eventually going to run into email account issues. Email accounts only have so long of a lifespan now in 2026 that you can't put all your eggs in one basket and hope for the best, right? You need to have a reserve, you need to have batches. And for the sake of longevity, we'll set up 2 batches that I'll be sending on the front end. Month over month, we'll rotate them. So let's say month 1, we send with batch A, month 2, we send with batch B, month 3, batch A, so on and so forth. And then we'll also have an email reserve on the back end in case, we lose a bunch of accounts from batch A. We can go to the email reserve, replace those accounts, and keep chugging. And the last thing we want is to be in a situation where we have no emails to send from because all of them are burned and we didn't have any reserve. Because of course, the way we work, we need to be sending emails, and that downtime is a significant loss for our clients and just for everyone involved. So this is the safest setup we found for this. And shout out to Taylor Heron. He's the one that kind of came up with this idea of doing that. And then email sequencer, we're going to use Email Bison. They're just kind of the GOAT. Even though they're a Bison, they're the GOAT. Email sequencer, isolated IP, great support team, great warm-up pool, just a great tool overall. API for everything pretty much. Can integrate with Cloud Code amazingly. We can create our campaigns pretty much through Cloud Code completely with Bison. So love the tool. They're great. They're awesome. And for campaigns that we'll be deploying, what that's going to look like, main campaigns we'll be deploying is going to be ICP segment campaigns. So depending on the ICPs we found in the segments we developed in the initial phases of strategy creation, we will create our first campaigns around that. Use typical, these are pretty much our cold campaigns, right? So fully cold campaigns, going after ICPs with our theses on message market fit on what we want to send to them, and test different offers, test different value props, test different pain points, test different social proof, and just test on all these segments. See which ones are resonating the best, see what messages are hitting the most, test there. And that's where we're going to be deploying probably 80-90% of our volume. Alongside that, we'll also be running evergreen signal campaigns. So this is going to be a small portion of our volume, but depending on how much of signals you're pulling. So let's say you get a ton of website traffic, could be a significant campaign, or you're getting a lot of LinkedIn engagement. That's something that we can run a campaign on and pull a lot of traffic from. And then retargeting campaigns. So any closed lost leads, or any leads that were interested a few months ago, we reach out to them, retarget them. Those are always easy wins. And from there, we'll be sending our emails. Calling, what that's going to look like. So for us, we have overseas caller agency that we work with. So for us, we have overseas callers that we have perform $500 to $2,000 per day. We're going to test a bunch of scripts on the front end, and we're going to market feedback. Pretty simple concept. The nice thing about cold calling is that you can iterate very quickly. I mean, you can iterate in real time since it's, you have people, you're literally speaking to the market. So where are we getting to in the script where people are consistently having resistance? You can iterate on that, see what starts to stick, and just keep going. And this is something that we can iterate within the first few days and start getting some meetings going on pretty quickly. Then we'll also do LinkedIn. For LinkedIn, what it's going to look like, you use a founder-led profile or team LinkedIn profiles. We use HeyReach as a messaging sequencer. And then we primarily use LinkedIn as a secondary touch point to either cold email campaigns or cold calling campaigns, or actioning off of signals. We don't really use it as a cold channel since the volume is very limited. Cold email, we can send millions of emails per month. LinkedIn, I mean, unless if you have hundreds of profiles, you can only send 20 connections per account safely. So really the volume is quite restricted. That's why you want to really focus on quality over quantity for outreach. And what this is going to look like, again, track profile engagement with team influence, thought leadership campaigns with Triggerify, or just following up with leads from cold calling or email. And those are all really solid campaigns. And from this, we can also build our network, right? On LinkedIn. So if you're posting content, there's building up your network, building up your following, and all these people that you connect with. Let's say you send an email, send a connection, and you get a positive response. Then you send a connection request, they accept it, and you're posting content. It's a great way to nurture your leads from there. So that's also a great channel for nurture. Then from all this, we're going to have a unified master inbox, and the tool we use is called Master Inbox. It's literally called masterinbox.com. Nice thing about them is you can actually unify the conversations from email and LinkedIn and have it multi-threaded within one tab. So let's say you reach out to the same person on email and LinkedIn. On Master Inbox, you'll see that conversation across email and LinkedIn in the same thread, which is really cool. So it's not like two separate silos. It's all in one multi-threaded conversation. From there, once we get these replies coming through, we are going to score them, and we're going to use tools like ClayGen. Now we have Claude Code, so Claude Code can do a lot of this. We're going to score the lead for two things. Number one being intent. So if they're interested or not, they want to book a meeting, things like that. We're going to score the lead. So once someone is marked as interested, a Slack channel notification is going to be hit to the sales team, and they're going to see, all right, we're getting interested in the lead. This all happens instantaneously, but what we're also going to be scoring for is a tier of the lead. So based on the quality of the account, on the qualification criteria that we have, we are going to be approaching each prospect differently. So for example, let's say a tier 1 lead, we have Amazon response, right? That's going to be a tier 1 lead. They're a massive company. So we're going to approach them differently versus if a mom and pop shop was to respond, right? The value of this lead is going to be much greater. So we're going to approach them different. And what we might do is we might give them a special offer, send them a personalized gift, send them like a wine bottle, even try to coordinate an in-person meetup, whatever it is, whatever you're willing to do, we're going to approach them differently. Tier 2, maybe it's not the same level as tier 1. So maybe we won't fly out to them, but we'll give them a warm call, right? They're a high value lead, and so we want to prioritize them. And tier 3 is going to be people who you can work with, but not the biggest priority. This will probably be the most of the leads that you generate. Like it's kind of like an 80-20 rule. You know, the 20 is going to be these, and this is where you can make like a lot of your money. And tier 3 is going to be like 80, where you can still make a lot of money from it, but they aren't like the highest tier leads, right? They're still qualified though in that case. Then from there, we are going to assign to your sales silos. So for certain companies, they have different sales silos according to industry. So we'll also route the leads accordingly for that, and everything gets auto-populated into the CRM, whether using HubSpot or Salesforce, the outbound sync. And from there, meetings are booked, sales process is deployed, and from there, get the sales call recordings, continue to iterate over time, see the feedback we're getting from outbound, and just make that kind of flywheel loop where anything we get from the sales call recordings, go back to square one and continue to refine our ICP and refine our campaigns further. And then from there, it goes leads, and this becomes a working autopilot revenue engine. So this is our approach to outbound in 2026. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're interested in working with us, visit pipeline.tech. We will build this exact system out for your company. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me. Hope you found this valuable. Peace.